As I was looking over the boat, I was looking more closely at the keel. Those of you that have been watching us regularly remember how I went aground in the Neuse River. We were pretty stuck aground for about an hour, and there was some, banging and pounding that the boat, the keel, was subject to. As I looked at the keel, I thought, does this just require a resealing it and painting it up? But as I thought more about it, I thought, well, what if the boat was damaged? Could the keel fall off? I know we have keel bolts, but I wasn't really sure how to proceed. And then I just thought, you know what, maybe I should get the boat inspected. But that probably would be unnecessary, because it's not like the keel is going to fall off or something. But then I was surprised to find out that keels fall off not irregularly. Like, it's not an uncommon thing. Boats have their keels fall off. I didn't really know that. So I decided to look a little more seriously at my insurance and see if I should get the boat inspected. Now, just so you don't think I'm being overly paranoid, so I read some things in some of these major sailing magazines, and I was very surprised to learn that. In fact, in one instance, 4 experienced sailors were all killed because their keel fell off. And when that happens, it happens very quickly. In fact, they found that there wasn't even the lifeboat having time to be activated. As I said, I was really shocked to find that it's not an uncommon occurrence. So let's take a look at some of these issues, and hopefully it'll help us to understand how to maintain and inspect our keel. Well, in this instance, the boat was a Beneteau 40.7. Beautiful boat. In fact, the length of the waterline is 35 feet. So this is a big boat. This is a nice, safe cruising boat. But evidently, the way that the keel is configured onto the hull, they've had some issues, and not just the Beneteau 40.7, but several boats. So it's important to know how to inspect your hull. Well, in this particular case, let's take a look and see what happened to this boat. It's called the Cheeky Rafiki, and in a Sail magazine post by Charles Doan, he writes, "Modern fin keels fall off cutting-edge high-end race boats all the time. In fact, keel loss is a common reason for Vendée Globe withdrawals that race, and also off common production sailboats, like the ones that you and I probably have. On production boats like Cheeky, a Beneteau First 40.7, it's probably true that most keel failures are the result of damage sustained in groundings. This is a tricky business, as grounding damage can be very hard to assess accurately, and damage can be cumulative over several groundings. Even worse, with charter boats like Cheeky, there may be one or more groundings that take place and are never reported to the boat's owner or those responsible for maintaining it. All the articles go on to say that basically it's caused by groundings, whether it's a hard grounding where it becomes obvious, or sandy. Even soft groundings can be deceiving. Why? Because they say that the impact can separate bended-in frames and grids from the hull, that you can't tell that it's been damaged. And there's damage where the keel meets the hull. Some boats, many boats, have a separate lead or iron keel that is attached to the fiberglass hull. Also, it says the ballast keel forced away from the keel stub. This is where the keel moves and weakens it. Or the aft end of the keel is forced upwards, damaging the hull laminate. What they're saying is that if you have a grounding, whether it's sand or hard sand or any type of grounding, you really should haul the boat out and have it inspected. In chartering boats, they don't do this because it's not cost effective. So there are groundings that are never reported, and that's what they think happened in the loss of these 4 gentlemen's lives. In this case, the boat was out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean between the Azores and Cape Cod, and they began to radio in that there was water coming in, but they didn't really know where it was coming from. In a relatively short period of time, the radio messages stopped, and they found the boat upside down with the keel off. The formal report summarizes it. It is unlikely that the vessel had struck a submerged object. Instead, a combined effect of previous groundings and subsequent repairs to its keel and matrix had possibly weakened the vessel structure where the keel was attached to the hull. And since there was no eyewitnesses, it was speculation of what happened, but they did know that the keel fell off, and it was too deep water. It's not like they grounded. As they did the survey, extensive survey and investigation, they found that the boat had several groundings and that it had been weakened. And as I'd mentioned before, if you don't take a look and have your boat inspected properly after groundings, it can have damage that's invisible. So let's take a look at how to maintain the keel so that you can be more up on things. Well, it's important to know how your particular boat is set up. There are encapsulated keels, and then there are separate keels like this one. In my case, it's a iron hull that is then bonded with keel bolts and a marine adhesive to the fiberglass hull. And so because it's natural that the keel flexes a little bit, you want to take a look and see that there's no water going into the space between the keel and the fiberglass hull. And so part of it is just maintaining that seal, but each boat is different. And you have to understand your own particular boat, how to care for the keel so the keel is properly maintained. In the next video, we're going to take a look at what I'm going to do to this keel to look a little more closely and to properly seal the connection between the keel and the hull. So stay tuned.